the way we used to interact with each other was always to just attack each other and say, I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is a thing from where I grew up. If it's a white thing, I don't know. But what we always used to do, we used to run each other down, you know. And then that was in my extended family. We didn't. Is that something that you know what I'm talking about? Is
Not
that something
really,
you
but I
experienced?
mean, it kind of reminds me of my roommate. Actually, I have a roommate right now who is like he's a racialized white man, like an older guy. He's an English teacher at a local high school, and he kind of talked about getting together with his friends and just like kind of
Yeah.
crapping on each other, just like,
Yes.
yeah, I've never experienced that. I never really done that. I don't really understand it. But he's also said something similar to what you said about being, he calls it steeped in white supremacy. He's like, I was steeped in it. He's like the nicest guy. His last name is Hope, and he literally just like, he adopted, a black child, and has been supporting her and all these things. And it's almost like he's trying to act out, like recompense for the way that he was raised and what happened, the environment that he grew up in, which was one clearly of white supremacy and hatred. But yeah, I've never experienced that kind of.
Because it
Um,
was when I went to Peru, it was just an awakening for me, and just like, and yeah, sometimes it's confusing. I don't know. I mean, you have your experience of you your racial identity, and then the experience of where you grew up, and then like because the United States is a big place, so everything's different there. So it was just I mean, when I went to college, it was a little different. But then when I went and lived in Peru, and I'm just like, it's like I didn't know the language, so I had to learn the language, and people were, and I was helpless, kind of, But people were just kind. Nobody took advantage of me. People just didn't say the mean things there like they'd say here, and they thought it was strange down there too, where in the United States, you're kind of expected to leave the house at 18, you're done. But in South America, they're like, no, you stay. They're like, they would build another floor above the house and the family would, move up there. So everybody would stay together. So all these things were just kind of like, it's like when you're 10 and you're just trying to survive, you think this is just the way the world is. And so my family and all my cousins and stuff, we just kind of run each other down. You'd insult, ha ha ha. We laugh about it, but it's like, the trick was to sit, come as close to saying something that really hurt as possible, but you're stabbing knives into people and it's supposed to toughen you up. And then part of that is just kind of like farmer culture. I grew up on a farm where you never worked as hard as your ancestors did, you're lazy. And it's just constant. You never get a compliment for things like that. And it gets to the point where if somebody does give you a compliment, you're mistrustful. And I've talked about that with people too. And this is all part of a control mechanism too, because you don't trust anybody outside the farm culture then, because it's like, well, but then it's also like anybody who says you did do a good job is trying to get something from you. So you go back to the farm. And it's like this whole thing where so much of our country is driven by this, the rural, we got the electoral college, which is designed to give more power to white supremacy and we got the rural areas. Every single one of them is frustrated because their way of life is disappearing, and they all know it, and they're all struggling to maintain things on their farms, and they all have this ideology that they've built up over a couple hundred years, where they run down their kids and they make them not trust anybody but the family, and they're disloyal if they leave the family. So a lot of this is kind of similar to just the whole white supremacist ideology. It's just inherent to rural culture. That's how they think, and it's hard because at some point, part of my reason I left to Peru, I'm just sick of being treated. I tried to talk to everybody in my fans, like, look, because I got to the point where I'm pretty quick witted, so I could always say something more hurtful. So I was I was winning. I was saying the more hurtful thing. I had the quick comeback. So I'm not a person who like somebody says something mean to me and then I'm like mad because the next day I have the perfect response. That never happens to me. I always could hit hard and stop not that just that fight, but all future fights. It's like never insult me again or I'll make you look foolish. Having done that, it's like this doesn't get you anywhere. This just makes people hate you. It affects your relationships. So I would talk to people, my fans, like I want to stay with you. I want to continue to have a relationship with you, but I don't want to run you down anymore. I don't want you to run me down. I don't want the only way that I can interact with you is you and I running each other down. They wouldn't do it. So I went to Peru. It's like I'll start again with a whole new group of people. And it's just like from there, you're able to actually develop strong relationships, and you're able to have bonds with people, and you build trust and love and affection for people, and you get to experience all the good things in the world that
Well, that's the thing. You just said it, brother. It's to
yeah,
avoid building trust, love, and affection for others. That's exactly why that culture persists. Because what
yeah,
would happen if we built trust, love, and affection for others, especially those people who aren't farm cultured, like people outside of the culture? Then you would see other people's humanity. Then you would question why people are asking you to dehumanize people outside of the culture. And once those questions start arising, that puts people to the same choice we were talking about earlier. What do I do? How do I act in a world and in an environment that is encouraging me to dehumanize, that is encouraging me to lord myself over other people for arbitrary reasons, that is encouraging me to exploit, that is encouraging me to hurt, that is encouraging me to kill, that is encouraging me to take? What do I do in that environment when I don't want to do those things? When I see that people, that I love people, when I see that I trust people, when I see that I care for people, it's
yeah.
it's 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 that pernicious, you know?
And the interesting thing is, it's like, what is keeping them there? It's like their whole, at the same time, their whole ideology is based on this grievance, right? Your grievance is because you're stopping yourself from having all the things that you want. And so it's like a self perpetuating misery. I don't know. How do you break through it? Is the that's the $1 million question,
I
I
think
guess
you
we're here to
just
answer.
you just got to show people that there's something else. Like people who are stuck in that perpetual misery, oftentimes they don't know there's anything else. Like
That's true. That's valid.
I
Yeah.
mean I mean they just literally don't know. And your comments are so insightful. It's making me think a lot about conversations I've had in the past actually, where I can see on people's faces and how they're responding to me that like they're searching for a reason to distrust me. They're searching for a
Yeah.
reason not to accept the love and the
Yeah.
caring and the trust that I'm offering them. And
Yeah.
they can't find one. And that's why I've been so successful in having these conversations through the years and getting people to engage where otherwise they would never have done so, because I'm being myself and this is me. Like I am being genuine. I am being the person who I am, and there is nothing else. There's no mask. There's just what you see, there's just what you get. And people are able to see that and read that. And when they read that, they're just like, "Oh, like well, I guess I have to just accept this because that's all I see, you know?"
And engendering mistrust is so fundamental. That's to the farmer where I grew up. The farmer mindset was always everybody else is out to cheat us. And I think that's kind of into this derisive talk about experts, like JD Vance said in the VP debate. Well, the experts aren't right about things. And then you always see that. And there's this weird just this strife, like playing Monopoly with my dad. He would never he would never make a trade of the, and like the whole point of Monopoly is this is I'm 7 trying to play Monopoly with my dad. He refused any time to trade. He would not trade any of his properties for anything. It's like he would just anything was just and it was just like, well, because anything that you did, he thought, is like you're getting and taking advantage of it. It's just like this, and it's kind of an effective way, in one sense, because there are periods in history. Yeah, the banks are trying to take advantage of you or this or that. It's like it's in if you assume, there's a certain armor to being mistrustful of everybody, but you sacrifice too much to maintain that armor, I guess is the thing. So that's because it's not it's I guess maybe that's what makes it so hard to get him to take it off, because there are places where it is needed, you know.
I guess
I,
I guess that's a question though. Is it needed? Is there any
yeah,
place where it's needed? I wonder about that.
that's true
I
too.
think that
That's
that
true
could
too.
be a potential myth, brother.
I
That
think you're right. I think you're right. And I think the example that's as I was saying, this the example is people had a hard time going from the geocentric model of the solar system to the heliocentric, right? Because the geocentric model predicted all kinds of things with the Earth at the center, but it's completely wrong. It's like it predicts things, so it has the appearance of value, but the other model predicts all those other things, plus you get space travel, right? So you get So I think that's kind of a better example than saying
I think that's
armor. It's like
great. That is a wonderful way of describing it. You're
saying,
exactly right. You're
yeah,
right. It does have its use,
it
right?
has the illusion of use. Yeah,
Yes, it has the
yeah.
illusion of use. Exactly. Thanks for watching. For access to the full length conversation and all of the 2 hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.